One, two, three.
Good morning, friends. As I begin my portion of the service this week, I want to begin and open with a pastoral word as to where we are about going back to having in-person worship. You've probably heard the governor's statement that um, by June 1, the Northern Virginia area will be able to go back to um, some semblance of normalcy called phase one. Um, the church, however, is in a different place. We have to follow the directions of the bishop um, and a committee of leaders in the annual conference, along with the bishop, have come up with a phased plan for allowing in-person worship. The first phase will only allow drive-in worship, and people will be expected to remain in their automobiles. They will not be able to get out. They will not be able to socialize. Um, and it will be a very restricted worship service. The staff and some key leaders in the church recognize that we don't really have the electronic capability to make that style of worship happen at the church. So we will be waiting for a phase two, which will come when things improve a little better. And while phase two has not been clearly defined and expressed yet, we understand that it will be a very limited allowance of in-person worship. As your pastor, it hurts my heart that you're not here. It hurts my heart that we're not able to come together in one accord and fill this empty room that I'm standing in and worship as we always have. But I balance that by realizing that I, as the leader of this congregation, have a responsibility to keep this environment as safe as I possibly can. Many of us in this church check off more than one box um, of immune difficulties, and for that reason, I understand that we have to be cautious. One person contracting the virus in this congregation because we jumped the gun for worship would be a very sad tragedy. So I will continue to provide updates as they become available, and a leadership group from the church will begin examining the things that we need to do when the church reaches the next phase of allowing in-person worship. I want to ask you this morning, how many of you ever owned a chameleon as a pet? The chameleon is an old world creature that has the capacity and the ability to change colors on a dime. It's got eyes that can go in different directions. It's got a helmet head, and it changes colors, as I said, dependent upon its mood or to blend in with its surroundings when going after prey or when preying on food. Chameleons are interesting. We use the word chameleon in the English language to describe people who are perhaps fair weather friends. Chameleons are people that are able to change their colors on a dime dependent upon their surroundings and who they're with. For instance, Someone might be in a meeting of people talking about climate change and are advocating for climate change, and they will be very, very passionate about that subject. But then, if they walk next door into another room of people who are planning a demonstration against climate change, they will be the first one to make a sign to go out and walk on the road to protest that same subject. Chameleons in real life are those who are hard to trust because we don't know what their true feelings are or what their true colors are because of their ability to slip in and out and in and out, depending upon their circumstances, situation, and group. You might think that in the church, that problem doesn't exist. Friends, there are chameleon Christians. Chameleon Christians who are people who will be in worship, loving, supporting, praising, singing, serving on committees, and doing so much good. But then when they leave church and they're in a secular situation, they suddenly become mute about the church and about their faith. They blend in with that secular situation in the same way that they blend in with the Christians when they're together in church. Chameleon Christians are those who can be so excited for Jesus for 1 hour a week, or 2 or 3, but the rest of the week they blend in with whomever they're with. David, when he wrote Psalm 66, was dealing with a problem of authenticity among those in his time. Authenticity means truth. And if people are being authentic, there's no reason to write about authenticity. It's only when people are not being authentic that one would write about authenticity. David says in that psalm, "Bless the Lord, our God. O peoples, let the sound of praise be heard." David calls every person to look at what God has done and to declare joy and praise to God, not in hiding, not in secret, but out loud to those all around you. Be authentic in your praise to God, because God, according to David, has been steadfast. God has led us through fire and through water. God has remained steadfast. We, in turn, are to remain steadfast to God. And then Jesus, in the 14th chapter of John, talks about how he will not leave us orphaned. He will come to us. And he talks about, if you will follow my commandments, it means that you love me. And if you love me, you love the Father. And therefore, we are to stand firm in our faith. Whether it's in church, whether it's at the cafe, whether it's out to dinner with friends, wherever we are to remain steadfast and true to God and show the true colors of our faith to people who are around us. Today, I invite you to take off your cloak of a chameleon. Take off that coat, because God knows what's true in your heart. All the time, everywhere you are. So there's no need to try to run or hide or to be different than one who believes in God. I've heard people express many times, I'm a Christian, but. Friends, there are no Christian buts. Either you are a Christian or you are not a Christian. And my encouragement to all of us today is that we remain as Christians, steadfast in our faith, willing to share that faith wherever we are and with whomever we encounter, and to love all as the commandment of Jesus, for in doing so, we also love God the Father. Take off that coat and remain true in the color of Jesus Christ. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.